we might still yet be focused on Real Madrid, so I wouldn't blame you for being so. But there is a Premier League game to discuss, and Mikel Arteta will be taking on that task this very day as he faces the press ahead of Arsenal's game against Brentford. This is the Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show, joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. It is very much appreciated. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a fantastic week so far. It's Friday. It's very much nearly the weekend, and it does, of course, mean with a Premier League game this weekend that it is Mikel Arteta's press conference day as well, taking place early this afternoon. Good morning to all of you joining us in the chat box. Very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Good morning to Brian and Carlton and James and Steve. We've got Knowledge and Rancid and Morgan, Arasilki. We've got Rich. We've got, in fact, did James reply? James says, morning, Tom. Just doing the full English breakfast today. Come on, you Gooners. To which I did say, because I spotted it as I was setting the show up, said, what does make up the best English breakfast? And I'm just scrolling the chat now and seeing if James even responded. I don't know why I bother, I'm not seeing a response, James. And I felt as though I needed to know the answer to that question, because yesterday, actually, on my day off, didn't have breakfast, didn't have lunch. I had brunch and just went out for a hammock and chips at the local cafe. So it's a very, very London thing. But it was great. And I was just kind of curious as to what James was going to have. But James hasn't even taken the time to respond. Oh, why do I bother? Why do I bother? I'm saying that now. I'm probably saying that he has. I just can't spot his reply. But there you go. There you go. Kirill says beer. Yeah, maybe go speak to somebody. Anyway, right, let's jump into today's story, shall we? We start with the European roundup of the week, which, of course, is the Europa League and the UEFA Conference League. Arsenal not involved in either competition because why would we? But yes, some interesting results last night. And of course, there was some drama as well. We saw Nemanja Matic and of course Andre Onana getting into a little bit of a footballing back and forth with Nemanja Matic basically turning around and saying that Andre Onana is one of the worst goalkeepers that Manchester United have ever had, because Onana had made some dismissive comments about Leon, basically. And then Onana posted onto Twitter, that kind of he respects all players, and then went on to say that, at least he'd won a trophy playing for Man United, of which, Matic didn't really, but won Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues with Chelsea. And then Onana went on to make two absolute howlers in the game between Lyon and Man United, which gifted Lyon effectively 2 goals. The game was 2-2 in the end, 95th minute equaliser for Cherki, of course, the impressive young French youth international. But absolutely mad, really, to consider the fact that, that Onana's having banter or back and forth kind of prodding with another player, only to go and absolutely embarrass himself in the game and draw 2-2. But a glimpse, a very snowy Boda Glimt, won 2-0 against an impressive Lazio side. Rangers, with down to 10 men, drew 0-0 at home against Athletic Club. There were some complaints about Nico Williams' performance in that game, not influential enough. Bilbao will be very confident, though, of winning that game in San Mamés next week. And Spurs drawing 1-1 at home against Frankfurt. Hugo Ekitike scoring and doing the Thierry Henry celebration in Tottenham, which was quite the sight. But they did manage to get an equaliser through Pedro Porro. In the Conference League quarterfinals, Chelsea won 3-0 away at Legia Warsaw. Real Betis won 2-0 in their game against, Jagiellonia. I'm going to do a quick Google. Jagiellonia. They are a Polish professional team based in Białystok that plays in the obviously the top Polish league. Can't say I've ever heard of them though, which is what the Conference League is all about, I guess. We also had Fiorentina winning 2-1 away at Celje. another team who I have to say I'm not 100% familiar with. They are a professional team from Slovenia, in the top tier of Slovenian football, but Fiorentina winning 2-1 away at Celje. And then the final game was a 1-0 win for Rapid Vienna against Djurgården. Again, another team. They sound a little bit Scandinavian, and they are from, commonly known as Djurgården, is professional association department of football from Sweden. Yes, there you go. So I was right about that one, Scandinavian side. So 3 teams there that I've got to say I've had very little, if any, exposure to in the UEFA Conference League. But certainly some exciting second legs, I'm sure, for those teams involved in those other competitions. Moving forwards, though, to more relevant stuff. Arsenal will play against Milan and Newcastle in Singapore as the rest of Arsenal's summer pre-season matches are now revealed. They'll be playing against Tottenham Hotspur in Hong Kong, and they'll be playing against AC Milan and Newcastle in Singapore. So 3 matches abroad, not in America, in Asia, Arsenal's Asian tour this summer. Sadly, I won't be there. You know the reasons why, which sucks, but, that's what friends are for, eh? But Arsenal are playing will be playing 3 matches this pre-season, at least. It might be that they play maybe in the Germany, the Nuremberg camp again, that we saw before. When they played Nuremberg, and go to the Adidas training complex. It may be that they do that again. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But still plenty of news, I think, for the summer to be announced, including plenty of transfer news as well. But it will not be Edu completing that transfer news. It will be Andrea Berta. And speaking of Edu, finally his gardening leave at the club came to an end. We saw the Brazilian post on his social feeds, a message at the end of that. I'll read you through that message now. Edu says, with a heart full of gratitude today, I close one of the most meaningful chapters of my professional life. After nearly 5.5 years, my journey officially as sporting director of Arsenal has come to an end. I joined the club in July 2019 as technical director with the challenge of bringing Arsenal, with the mission of bringing Arsenal back to where it belongs among football's elites, driving a cultural shift, keep competing for trophies and making Champions League qualification for trophies and making Champions League qualification with a minimum expectation for a club of Arsenal's size. Later, I had the honour of becoming the first ever sporting director in the club's history, a milestone I'll always carry with great pride. And throughout this process of rebuilding, you, the fans, are an essential part of everything. To the supporters, my most sincere thank you. The support, the energy, and the connection we felt again in every match was simply special. The Emirates became an amplified version of the old Highbury atmosphere. To have experienced this alongside you is something I will never forget. To our owners, Stan and Josh Kroenke, the board, Mikel, the players, the coaching staff, Per, Claire, all the executive team, the backroom staff, everyone working at the Emirates Stadium, and especially those who welcomed me so warmly into the director's box. Thank you for these years of collaboration and kindness. It was never easy, but our intense work, united by a true team spirit, made me feel fulfilled throughout all these years. If I'm only now sharing this message, it's because I've been on gardening leave in recent months. And out of respect for the club and everyone involved, I prefer to wait until the final official day of my contract to publish this. I wish Arsenal all the very best and every success. And I also send my warmest wishes to the new sporting director, Andrea Berta, who now takes on this beautiful role. I leave with a peaceful heart and an immense pride in what we've built together. Thank you so much, Edu Gaspar. What's the message that he posted onto socials? Obviously, I've got my frustrations about kind of how this has gone down. I've got my frustrations that I feel that Edu left the project half-baked, but maybe it's for the best, and ultimately it will leave us in a position where we can go on to do some even more special things, of course, with Andrea Berta taking on the position as well. So hopefully in the end, this turns out to be a positive thing. And certainly I'm hoping that we are now in a state where Edu's work has taken us to this level, where we are, as he says, the minimum expectation is that kind of Champions League qualification, which absolutely should always be the absolute minimum expectation for Arsenal. Whereas the main aims, the main ambitions are indeed winning the biggest and best trophies in the game. So, yeah, that's the message from Edu. And that ends his association with the club as he will move ahead into his next role, which many imagine is going to be part of the Marinakis football group and Nottingham Forest, of course. Now, moving into more transfer news, and Arsenal is said to be one of the clubs that are keen on Dean Huijsen, the Spanish international, of course, who's had an absolutely brilliant season and a really, really strong campaign for Bournemouth. Is among a number of clubs' key suitors. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, Tottenham have said to have all met Dean Huijsen's representatives ahead of a decision being made on the 19-year-old centre-back's future. This is according to David Ornstein. Bournemouth and the player want a swift outcome. The release clause is £50 million. Who will get Dean Huijsen? We will wait to see. Of course, with Van Dijk expected to sign a brand new deal at Liverpool, with Salah signing a new deal as well at Liverpool, maybe there isn't space. But if Konate decides to leave Liverpool, maybe that opens up a space there. Arsenal, of course, have got Gabriel and Saliba. So both of those, I think both of those are the right clubs, I think, that make... I guess they're the right clubs for a player that's younger and wants to kind of take that next step. But is it the right club in terms of, well, is it the right club for a player that needs to play every week? Because he's not going to do that at Arsenal or necessarily Liverpool if they've got players there. But if there's gaps in certain other teams, I think obviously he would play at Chelsea. I think he would probably play at Newcastle. One of those teams maybe makes more sense than Arsenal do right now, but he's a very talented player. And if Arsenal were to get that signing done, it would be an excellent piece of business by the club. But I'm just not sure how much football he would end up playing, which obviously is a little bit of a concern when you've got so many. If this was happening when Saliba's contract was coming to an end and it didn't look like he was going to stay, he probably would be the perfect replacement for William Saliba. But unfortunately, it's happening at a time where if he moves now, if you're trying to sign him later on down the line, it's probably going to cost you a lot more, even if you could get him out of another Premier League club, which could be very, very difficult indeed. The final story of the day is on Kai Havertz. Now, of course, when it was announced that Havertz had suffered his injury while away with the team in Dubai, the message that was put out onto social feeds was that Kai Havertz would be looking to trying to get ready for the start of next season. However, he has since posted a video onto Instagram with the club, I believe. I think it was a combined collaboration post onto Instagram. And it is, of course, him already in the gym, doing running, doing kind of strength training of the muscles. And is there a chance that Kai Havertz could come back before the end of the season? Well, David Ornstein, again, has been quoted by many yesterday doing some Q&As with The Athletic. And in those Q&As, he was asked about the potential return of Kai Havertz early before the end of the season. And he said, it looks and sounds like his recovery is going well. So perhaps they'll try to reintegrate him before the season finishes if it is safe to do so. And there is something to play for. But let's see. It's a lot of ifs in that as well. But this is certainly something that I think will obviously be a big boost. If Arsenal have something to play for, i.e. the Champions League final, it obviously would be great to have that extra depth. This is somebody that scored the winning goal in a Champions League final. He has that experience, and it would be beneficial to have him back. But for the moment, Mika Marino has made that role very much, his own. So would Kai Havertz get back into the team? I don't know. Very, very difficult to know at that point. I think it would be a big, big push. I think maybe having him just on the bench and having him kind of just there in the squad would be a big, big boost. But I don't think even if he was to return for the final, he would be able to start. But stranger things have happened, I guess. Right, let's go to part 2 and your questions and more right after this. Right, this is part 2 of the show where we're going to be tackling some of your questions and some of your thoughts. So if you've indeed got some that you'd like to throw into the chat box, now is the time to do so. I wonder if we got any answers to those questions from the start of the show where I was asking about when I was asking about cooked breakfast. It was making me hungry, actually. It's the problem when you've got a diet plan coming up. I'm doing another 90-day challenge next on the start of next week, which is kind of my challenge to try and get a little bit more in shape for the summer and some of the weddings that are coming up. I've got to fit in those trousers as well, you know. I've got a fair amount of wedding clothes, but when I went to the palace the other week, I I have to say I did. It was a little bit of a more of a struggle than it was when I last put that suit on when I got married. So yeah, that definitely inspired me to start something of a fitness challenge next week. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I did ask, and Martin's replied saying, if we're talking strictly traditional breakfasts, it's fried bread and definitely no hash browns. Now, personally, if I'm ranking my top 5, and I encourage you to do this as well, and I'll put mine in the chat, and you know, the feel-good factors back at Arsenal. We'll get to your Arsenal questions. Don't you worry. Arsenal's not going to come off the menu, should we say. We're going to talk about Arsenal. We're going to answer your questions. But this is a really important thing. Top 5 not traditional, but just English breakfast items. Number 1 is without a doubt the humble sausage, 100%. Number 2, and Martin, you won't like this, is a hash brown for me. Has to be number 2, the hash brown. Number 3 is bacon, obviously. Absolutely has to be. Number 4, this is going to be very controversial, I think, this one. And I'm just trying to think in my head if I'm making, and that bacon, by the way, can be interchanged with gammon or whatever. Number 4 is the softest, whitest bread and butter. I absolutely love just when you get that little side gorgeous pillow of bread to kind of mop up all the bean juice at the end. And I know that if you're not living in the UK, beans for breakfast, I know, is an incredibly random thing that so many of you that live abroad think is a ridiculous thing to do. But certainly I absolutely love it. And that brings us to number 5, which is indeed beans. So that's my 5. 6 would be eggs if they're done really, really well, and they have to be poached. Number 6 would be eggs. And this is the thing, when you start ranking things, you suddenly forget things, and maybe eggs were forgotten there. But you can have bad eggs, you can have good eggs, and for me, that's the top 5. 1 sausage, 2 hash brown, 3 bacon and ham, 4 the softest, whitest bread, and number 5 is beans. So there's your top 5. Let me know in the comment section what's yours. Let's go to some of your questions, though, surrounding Arsenal as well. Amaral Gunner says, a fit Kai Havertz back in the team is a no-brainer. Mourinho has done well, but let's not get carried away. So, I mean, I might put a poll, in the chat box. Say if Kai Havertz was fit for the final, who would you start as centre forward? And I mean fit, like if fit enough to start. If Kai Havertz was fit for the final, who starts if Arsenal get there? Just put that in brackets, really. If we get there. And the 2 options are Havertz, and I'm only giving you 2 options. I'm going to make it more simple for you. You've got to choose between these 2, Havertz or Mourinho. They're your choices. So get voting on that poll. Very curious as to know what would you go for, because Amaral Gunner says it's a no-brainer. It would be Kai Havertz. Let's scroll up a little bit more. JM says there is no reason why Arsenal should sign Dean Huijsen. Having him and Saliba would be good for rotation, the same way City and Pep have several top defenders. Do you mean there is no reason why Arsenal shouldn't sign Dean Huijsen? I think that's probably what you meant. But it's a really good point. Despite having Ruben Diaz and John Stones, they went out and signed Gvardiol. They went out and signed Kanji. They brought through Nico O'Reilly. Although I think he's more of a midfielder, isn't he? Who am I thinking of? The youngster. Rico Lewis. But he's more of a fullback, I guess, and a midfielder. But yeah, they did have depth. They've signed Kusanov as well, young defender. So there's your James says, I did reply. Did you, James? I didn't see it. I'm scrolling up. I'm hoping that you're not mugging me off. I'm sure you did reply, and maybe it just got lost in the chaos of all of these messages now. Maybe you want to copy and paste it. Yeah, here we go. James said, hash brown, sausages, bacon, black pudding, I'm 50-50 on black. It has to be good. Mushrooms, not a fan of mushrooms personally. Fried bread. You put black pudding twice. Maybe you've got it twice, but not tomatoes. I don't like them. I feel that. I always feel like tomatoes are a bit of a. I don't. It's like the big one, and they've halved it, and they've like put it on the grill or whatever. For me, it has to be like the little ones on the vine. Put them on the grill. They're good tomatoes to have on a breakfast. But when it's kind of half a big tomato, I always find they're way too watery. There's not much flavour to those. It's got to be the vine, the little ones, if you're going to put them on a breakfast, not the. I'm so poncy on us. Oh, goodness gracious me. This is really highbrow stuff this morning. Let's go to Culture Marketers. Greetings, Tom. Great stream as always. If this is your breakfast choice, it's now wonderful that you can't. It's now wonderful you can't fit in your wedding suit. Question: who would you want to start up front against Brentford? Good question. Who do I want to start up front? Probably Trossard. We'll do a preview tomorrow morning, of course, before the game. But it's probably Trossard. What time's the game on Saturday? 5:30 kickoff. Oh, that means I get home at like 10. I hate the later kickoffs because it means you get home so much later. I'd prefer an early kickoff. Plus, cook breakfast at the Emirates, which we haven't had since. What was the 1 o'clock kickoff we had? Was it the Fulham game? It might have been the Fulham game, but I do miss that. That is one of the best things about an early kickoff at the Emirates, of course. I love that you're all sending in your. Rich says that big fat soggy tomato is always disappointing. Always, it's got to be the little ones. Little like what are they called? They've got special names. Can't remember what they're called though. Someone will know. Someone will put it in the chat in a second. SN, what's SN's question? Someone said, great question, SN. Tom, I read a post earlier that said Arsenal would get around 110 million euros if we beat Real Madrid and reach the semi-finals. How much of that would go into the transfer budget? The honest answer is we don't know. I'm really sorry that I can't give you a more cherry tomatoes. Thank you, SN. And everybody else that's also putting in the chat, Jay Knotts as well, Morgie telling me, Amber Lee, thank you. We don't know. Is the honest unless you're Andrea Berta, unless you're Josh Kroenke, we don't know. But the further Arsenal go in the Champions League, the more money they earn from this competition, it's going to help them. It's going to help them be able to spend more money in this window. It's going to give them more opportunities to spend more money. So that's another reason why we want to go as far as feasibly possible. The Champions League winnings breakdown. I wonder if there's a breakdown. 24-25 season, the breakdown of the Champions League. So this is by stage. So the qualification for qualifying, you get 15 million quid just off the bat. If you get a win in the league phase, you get 1.8 million. So the Champions League phase, these are all dollars, right? No, they're pounds. They are in pounds. So we can probably work this out roughly. I mean, these are all estimates, I imagine. I'm taking this as gospel. Champions League table. Why is Google? Come on. Champions League table. Here we go. So Arsenal won 6 games. So 6 times 1.8. Is it 1.8? Is that right? Yeah, 1.8. So that's 10.8. So you add that. And we drew how many times? We drew once and we lost once. So when you draw, you get 590,000. So add 0.59 and then add the 15.7. We're doing maths again, people. We do love a bit of maths. So top 8 league phase finish, you get 1.7 million. So add 1.7 to that. Okay. We then got through to the round of 16. So that's add 9.3. We play in the quarterfinals. So that's add 12.7. And then if you get to the final, 12.7 is only if we get through. So at the moment it's saying 50 million. So obviously this is prize money. So obviously there's money on top of this that is broadcast as well. So this is just prize money. So there is broadcast money on top of that too. So I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's. I think if you get to the final, you're getting around 100 million quid from the sounds of things, But I'd imagine a large chunk of that absolutely could work its way into Arsenal transfer budget, and the further we get, the more money we might have to spend. So let's just keep winning, hey? That's all we need to do. Just keep winning. And Maya says, how much do you get for winning the competition? 21.1 million on top of that. If you finish second, you get 15.6 million. So, yeah, it just keeps building up and building up and building up. Amira says, I'm not going to lie, Tom. All this football talk is really disrupting the breakfast chat. I'm sorry. I can only apologise. Terence says, Tom, how do you see the weekend's game if we make major changes? If we don't get a positive result, can that impact Wednesday's Champions League match? I'm a bit concerned about this one. Cheers. Thanks for your work. No problem at all. You're right to have concerns. You know, Brentford right now, their form is they're 12th in the league. They've won one of their last 5, which was against Bournemouth away from home. They drew with Chelsea. They lost to Newcastle. They lost to Villa, and they drew with Everton. So they've not had easy games by any stretch of the imagination. And they're coming to an Arsenal side that are in good form. I think Arteta's going to want to win this game. I think he might. I mean, he definitely should rotate some players. We are in a weird situation, of course, with some of our players that they're close to a suspension, as we talked about. I don't want to get too much into it, but I did post that. Still, I had people in my comment section saying that they were claiming that if those 4 players get a yellow card in the second leg, they still wouldn't get suspended. They will. I also had, amazingly, and I'm going to give you guys and girls some slack here. If you thought that the suspensions don't carry over to the semi-final, you are only as bad as Arsenal Football Club, who put in their own programme. Let me find the programme quickly. So this is the Arsenal programme for the Champions League, and the very nice one that Charles Watts didn't get. And if we have a look in this programme, and we just go a few pages in, it might even be less than that. Let's find where it is. On page 13, unlucky. At the bottom of page 13 is, if you can see on the camera, I don't know if it's going to show. Is it going to show? Come on. Focus. Doesn't want to focus at all. Come on, focus, 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 focus. There you go. Suspensions. You see that? In the Arsenal official programme. And now, I'll read you this. Focus again. Both teams have a player unavailable due to suspension tonight. We are without Raheem Sterling for his first leg after he was booked late on against PSV Eindhoven in the last round. Aurelien Tchouameni misses the game for Real Madrid also after picking up his 3rd booking of the competition in the last round win over Atletico. Declan Rice would miss the second leg if he picks up a yellow card tonight, while Real Madrid have 7 players on that particular tightrope: Antonio Rudiger, Luka Modric, Vinicius Jr., Eder Militao, Eduardo Camavinga, Lucas Vazquez, and Endrick. Now, Eder Militao isn't even fit and ready for the rest of the season. He's not going to play. They missed the fact that Jurriën Timber and Gabriel Martinelli are also alongside Declan Rice in that suspension thing. And then at the bottom here, it says the threshold for suspensions is reset after tonight's game. Wrong. And I sent this picture to a contact of mine at UEFA, and they just said, yeah, that's wrong. So amazing. So I don't blame people for getting this wrong, because if it's wrong in here, it shows you how complicated and confusing. And I don't blame you. I don't blame Arsenal. I blame UEFA, because their ruling, how it's written in the rules, is really quite vague and convoluted. So, yeah, it's I don't blame people for getting it wrong, because even the program is wrong. So, yeah, it's kind of nuts that. And it was on the app as well, says Louis. Oh dear, not good, is it? Not good at all. So yeah, but it is wrong. And I spoke to someone at Arsenal yesterday, and I highlighted that with them as well, and to their surprise. So yeah, it's completely understandable. I think that people got confused with how suspensions and stuff work. Aran says, I blame Arteta and Berta. Yeah, it must be the Kroenke's fault, surely. Charles says, I just hope it clicks well for Havertz next season to shift more into a supportive striker midfield role. If Havertz and a new forward with our wingers will be cooking. I hope Partey stays as well. Ashley says, if only Tommy was fit to start next season, I would have bought a defender after I wouldn't have bought a defender after Tierney and Zinchenko leave. Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Ben, Calafiori, Jakob, MLS, Tommy, group feels right, especially on ego, ability, and flexibility level as well. I think we do need another defender, just with the way that things are kind of going. Afra says, my shout is push for Barcola. I doubt PSG will be adamant to let him go since they got the Kvaratskhelia and now Desiree Doué. I think there's a really big opportunity here. Barcola is potentially available in this window because of Kvaratskhelia, because of Desiree Doué. I think there's a really, really big opportunity here for someone to go and get a very talented player. Barcola's got 13 goals and 10 assists in Liga this season. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists in the Champions League this season. He's an excellent player. He's one of the most exciting wingers of his age bracket at 22. He's having a much better season than Nico Williams is, for instance, 18 goals, 16 assists across all competitions. That's 34 goal contributions in 47 games. Absolutely Barcola. Would be my number one choice if I had to pick a wide player to sign. Williams would be very close behind that, but Barcola is without a doubt my number one choice for the summer. Bavan says, Tom, if we get through to the semis without the 4 players getting yellow cards, then the yellows will be cancelled. Yes. So if Rice and Timber and Martinelli and Partey all don't get booked against Real Madrid and Arsenal get to the semi-final, their yellows are wiped. The only way that you can be suspended for a Champions League semi-final second leg and the Champions League final is if you are sent off. That's the only way you could be suspended for either one of those games is if you are sent off. So bear that in mind for those games. Culture Mark says there's almost 700 of you watching. In fact, there's over 1,000 of you across. There's over 1,000 of you on YouTube right now. We don't stream to Twitter anymore. There's over 1,000 of you on YouTube. Almost 700 of you watching and only 90 likes. Come on, you Gooners, hit that like button. Make sure you have if you haven't done so already. Bavan says, Tom, we've done that one, sorry. Chris says, if Kai was to return, would you drop Marino for him? Let's have a check on our poll. I've been asking you to vote on our poll this morning. If Kai Havertz was fit for the final, who starts, Havertz or Marino? 46% of you. That's a lot more than I thought. Say Havertz. 54% of you say Marino. That's a really, really, really interesting poll. I'm quite surprised how close that is. For me, if he was fit for the final, but say that was the first game he could play in, maybe he played like a couple leading up to it, I'd still go Marino right now. I think Marino has earned that spot. He is proving to be very clinical. He knows the role very, very well. So my head is with Marino right now. I picked him for the Real Madrid game. I know a lot of people picked Trossard. I know at halftime I was doubting that. Amar Organa says, to be fair, it's just Clive clicking Marino over and over and over and over and over again. I wouldn't put it past him. It's all his 1,700 Google accounts. He's just voting Marino constantly. It's 47% now. It's closing up between the two. Let us know in the comment section down below after this show is completed if you missed the poll, who you would pick and why. I'd love to know your reasons why. Shari says it's definitely Marino. That's where I sit on this. If Havertz was back. But it'd be great to have Havertz as an option off the bench, wouldn't it? Like just to have that extra element to our team to come off the bench. If it's 0-0 or we're losing with a goal difference and you can bring on an extra kind of aerial threat and presence in the box to end the game, it would be a good option to have, even if we're winning the game, to help see the game out and have that extra kind of physical presence. It would be very good too. Mayer says, I think those Saka and Martinelli crosses go into the net if Kai Havertz is there, though. That's a fair point. Soup says, I just feel with Havertz we will create more opportunities, but then probably miss them. And Gunnar says, I'd keep Marino because that guy is having some good luck, and luck beats everything. Bakary Lasagna says, Salah and Virgil van Dijk are signing new contracts. Darwin didn't because he missed a penalty. It is big for Liverpool with both of those signing. There was feeling that I think 2 of the 3 would stay. Trent is going to go, but keeping both of those on new contracts is big. That said, is this the big contract that sees those players dip in form? I guess we will have to wait and see. Charlie says, I'm buzzing from the win, but the second leg is still a worry. Absolutely, it's still a worry. The Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. Paul says, a fully fit Havertz starts, but he wouldn't be fully fit, so I'd start Marino. And Red Skull says he wants to sign Ural Hato. in the summer. Right, that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Friday. I'll be with you tomorrow morning to preview the day's game against Brentford. Of course, you get all the updates from the Mikel Arteta press conference a little bit later on the football.london website. You can keep along with the quotes that are going in from Arteta if you're unable to watch it on our minute-by-minute updates live blog. And then, of course, just about half an hour after Arteta's finished speaking, we will have the full every word transcript for you with every question, of course, in its full wording as well. Afterwards on the website, our every words go out about half an hour or so after that has finished. So make sure you check that out on the Football.London website. See you soon. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.